Come on then. Who will strike first and brand themselves a cold-blooded killer?
This is Anakin Skywalker in the show Star Wars The Clone Wars, and he is radically different than his counterpart in the films. In this video, I will explain how the Clone Wars saved Anakin. I think the best adjective to describe Anakin Skywalker would be emotional, and that's a trait that fundamentally contradicts the dogma of the Jedi Order that he serves. When we first meet Anakin Skywalker, he's a 9-year-old boy. We see he is kind and selfless, but most importantly, we see his strong relationship with his mother. And this relationship is the foundation of the tragedy of Anakin Skywalker. The definition of tragedy when it comes to literature is a drama or literary work in which the main character is brought to ruin or suffers extreme sorrow, especially as a consequence of a tragic flaw, moral weakness, or inability to cope with unfavorable circumstances. I think this describes Anakin rather accurately, but what's different in Anakin's case is that his tragic flaw is not really a flaw, this flaw being his emotions. The Jedi Order treat emotions as a flaw, something that should be suppressed at any moment because of its ability to cloud judgment. When Anakin meets with Yoda in Revenge of the Sith, he tells Yoda that he fears the loss of someone. This is something that Anakin is clearly struggling with and needs emotional support. However, Yoda responds by basically telling Anakin to ignore those feelings and not to fear loss. This refusal to help Anakin's emotional instability is what leads him to the dark side. Now, you may know I'm not a big prequel fan, but one thing that prequels actually do quite well is show Anakin's instability, and we first start to see this, I would say, in the second act of Attack of the Clones. Anakin's first reaction after the death of his mother is one of anger, a emotion that he cannot control as we see him proceed to murder a whole village of sand people. So in the next movie, when he fears the loss of his wife, he's gonna react similarly. Padme is the only person that he can be emotionally vulnerable with. Remember, he never even told Obi-Wan, who's supposed to be his brother figure, about his relationship with Padme. When an emotional person loses their only emotional anchor, they will explode. But this is where the problems begin. Padme is the emotional anchor for Anakin. We are told this many times throughout the movies, but we are never shown this. Remember, the story of Anakin Skywalker is supposed to be a tragedy. When Padme's life is at stake, we should feel the urgency and pain that Anakin feels. When Anakin fights Obi-Wan, we should feel the tragedy of two brothers turning against one another. When Anakin kills the Jedi, we should feel like this is a betrayal from Anakin against the people who raised him for 13 years. But we don't. How come moments like this?
Master Skywalker, there are too many of them. What are we going to do?
Feel more like memes than they do tragic moments. Anakin is killing innocent children, yet we laugh. This is because the trilogy hasn't earned these moments. We don't feel the tragedy of Anakin and Padme's relationship because it's been nothing but cringe for 3 movies. This relationship is similar to Anakin and Obi-Wan's relationship. We don't feel the tragedy of brothers fighting each other because their relationship is also not properly built. In the Phantom Menace, they spend close to no time together, and Obi-Wan pretty much sees Anakin as a burden. In Attack of the Clones, they argue with each other the whole time, and when they're apart, they continue to complain about each other. And while Revenge of the Sith does a decent job with establishing the relationship, it is a little too late. And lastly, Anakin's relationship with the Jedi Order is non-existent. Besides Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon, he has no relationship with any other Jedi. We do get this complicated relationship with Mace Windu, but that's it. So the scenes where Anakin kills the Jedi are emotionless because he has no relationship with any of them. This is one of the reasons why Anakin Skywalker as a character in the films just doesn't work. The trilogy doesn't put in the legwork to earn these moments that on paper should be really emotional. So when Dave Filoni, the creator of the Clone Wars, was tasked with writing Anakin Skywalker, he had to ask himself a few important questions. 1. How can I add gravity to Anakin's actions in Revenge of the Sith? 2. How can I strengthen the relationships that surround Anakin? And 3. How can I completely change the negative perception that surrounds Anakin Skywalker? So where does Filoni start? Well, for one, he completely reworked the entire character. Anakin went from this whiny teenager to this more masculine heroic version. Matt Lanter's voice is much deeper than Hayden Christensen's voice, and this allows Anakin's more emotional moments to be impactful rather than annoying. Another aspect of the character that Filoni works with is completely separating Anakin from other Jedi we've seen before. In the films, we are told that Anakin is one of the most powerful Jedi ever, but again, we are never shown this. For 2 movies, most of his fighting is done destroying battle droids. He loses 2 out of his 3 lightsaber fights, and even during Order 66, we only see him murder younglings and no mature Jedi. He is put on the Council, which is supposed to be this great honor, but what has he done to deserve such an honor, and what separates him from the other Jedi? One trait that was heavily focused on in the Clone Wars was Anakin's recklessness. At almost every opportunity he gets, he disobeys the Council for what he feels will be a more effective plan. It even becomes an ongoing joke with the other Jedi throughout the series.
Disobeying the Council, your expertise is.
So why does this work? Why does the audience see this trait as admirable and not irresponsible? Hell, in Attack of the Clones, Obi-Wan tells Anakin that he will be expelled from the Jedi Order if he leaves his post to go save Padme, but he does shit like this all the time in the show. It works so well in the show because Anakin provides results. In almost every scenario Anakin is in, he succeeds, often due to his recklessness. Had he been losing all of his battles, the audience would start to question why he's even still part of the Jedi Order. But again, he provides results. Another layer that is added to Anakin's recklessness is his inner darkness. Oftentimes, he simply goes against the Jedi Code to get results. He tortured Poggle the Lesser to get information, and most recently he did the same to Admiral Trench. He even goes far enough to describe Jedi values as a weakness. These moments help the audience buy that Anakin will eventually betray the Jedi and become Darth Vader. Now that Anakin's fundamental character has been completely reworked into one that is far more compelling, how are his relationships with others affected throughout the series? The relationship that we probably see the most of throughout the series is Anakin and Obi-Wan's relationship. Even in the Clone Wars movie, which pretty much sucks, the relationship is infinitely better than in the trilogy. They have this banter between them that instantly feels more real than what we get in the movies. Just listen to these few exchanges.
You're alive!
And where's your lightsaber?
It got knocked out of my hand.
By a rock?
Yeah, by a rock.
Silly thing. Was just working a minute ago.
You don't suppose it was hit by a rock, do you?
When we hear Obi-Wan in A New Hope say that they were good friends, he means this, and not this. Furthermore, we start to see the trust build between the two of them, something that was clearly lacking in the movies. When one of them does something that the other may disagree with, there isn't any tension because we are shown how much the two trust each other. Obi-Wan lets Anakin continue to be reckless because he truly trusts him. Lastly, we are shown how much Obi-Wan actually means to Anakin. In the films, we hear Anakin say things like,
"Don't say that, Master. You're the closest thing I have to a father."
But again, we aren't shown this. There are many examples throughout the series, but I feel the best one is when Obi-Wan goes undercover as Reiko Hardeen. In this arc, Obi-Wan fakes his death in order to capture this bounty on her. In doing so, those closest to him aren't allowed to know, including Anakin. We see this fury inside Anakin, this rage. Anakin doesn't have to tell us how hurt he is because we are shown this. We are shown how emotional he is when he is sent on the mission. Furthermore, when Anakin learns about the plan all along, he is genuinely hurt. He feels the Jedi broke his trust, all of this because he thought Obi-Wan was dead. So I think the evidence is clear how strong the relationship is between these two. So moving on, how was his relationship with Padme strengthened? While this relationship isn't as large of a focus as, say, his relationship with Obi-Wan's, it's still expanded upon. We see the lengths that Anakin will go to help Padme many times, but I feel what's more interesting is how he tried to navigate the marriage as a whole. Remember, Anakin and Padme are living a lie. No one knows they are married, and they are tested. For example, when Padme is with Rush Clovis, we see how insecure Anakin can be. He wants to defend his woman without revealing that he is in love. This is a difficult challenge that ultimately they endure, but we are shown how difficult this relationship can be, which makes it feel all that more realistic. However, I feel one of the most important scenes between the two of them is actually in a recent episode in Season 7. Just to give some context in the situation, and spoiler alert of course. Rex believes that one of his clone brothers, Echo, is alive, something that the other clones and Anakin feel is quite crazy. Anakin wants to help Rex, but he doesn't believe Rex will find what he's looking for. Anakin proceeds to talk with Padme and expresses how he is struggling with the situation. Padme tells Anakin how since Rex always puts his trust in Anakin, that maybe he should return the trust to Rex. It's a valuable lesson that Anakin learns from and proceeds to trust Rex throughout the episode. The reason this is so important is because we see whenever Anakin is struggling, he turns to Padme and she provides him with the emotional support he needs, something that the Jedi Order do not provide him with. This is what was lacking in the films. We begin to understand why Anakin is so dependent on Padme and why he loves her. So when her life is at stake, we can empathize with him and his choices. The last relationship I want to talk about is Anakin's relationship with the Jedi Order as a whole. I should preface this by saying that we don't need to see Anakin have any great relationships with other Jedi. Besides Obi-Wan and Ahsoka, there are no other Jedi during the Clone Wars that really mean a lot to him. We should see him being cordial to his fellow Jedi, and we get that throughout the series. But what we need to buy from Revenge of the Sith is that Anakin is willing to murder these people to save Padme. Now, this is extremely challenging. It's not easy to turn a good-hearted man into a murderer in the time frame of a single movie. So Dave Filoni decided to focus on a specific aspect of his relationship with the Jedi, and that aspect is trust. In Revenge of the Sith, we are told Anakin is losing trust in the Jedi, and this is actually what I feel is one of the best aspects of the movie. Actually, my favorite scene in all of the prequels is basically Anakin struggling with his trust. Throughout the entire prequels, characters are always telling us how they feel, but for the first time there's just silence, and the audience knows exactly what Anakin is thinking. Does he trust Palpatine to save Padme, or does he trust the Jedi to help him when they defeat Palpatine? Anakin ultimately chooses to side with Palpatine, basically declaring he does not trust the Jedi. So how does the show add on to this broken trust between Anakin and the Jedi? Well, to me there are two glaring examples throughout the series. The first example is what I talked about before with Obi-Wan and the Reiko Hardeen situation. This was definitely a moment that shook Anakin's trust in the Jedi. The other one is definitely how the Jedi handled the whole Ahsoka situation. I don't want to go too in depth with this because I do plan on making a whole video about Ahsoka in the future, so if it is out I will provide the link. But to sum it up, the Jedi thought Ahsoka was guilty of placing a bomb in the temple. Even after it was revealed that she was innocent, she ultimately left the Jedi Order because the Jedi couldn't trust her. This was definitely a huge experience for Anakin. Ahsoka was like his little sister, and to see her walk away from the Order fundamentally broke Anakin. In one of the unfinished episodes, we actually see how much this hurt Anakin. He even expresses to Ahsoka how he understands wanting to leave the Order. Moments like these help the audience understand why Anakin is starting to distance himself from the Jedi. So it goes to show how far the Clone Wars actually went to better Anakin. It fundamentally reworked him into a much more likable person. It strengthened his relationships with all the other characters in the prequels. And most importantly, it added emotional weight to those tragic events in Revenge of the Sith. And those are the main reasons why the Clone Wars saved Anakin. Thank you for watching another one of my videos. Before I ended this, I just wanted to say, with the whole virus stuff going around, everyone, please stay safe. Since I will be stuck here for the foreseeable future, I should be able to get a video up at least once a week, every Sunday. That is my goal. Also, please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. It really helps out Claude and myself. And unfortunately, Claude is not here right now, but he should be back here by next week, so don't worry about that. Anyways, hope you guys all enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time.